MiniWarGaming, speed, the cooler, bat rap.
And we're back with Tomb King's turn 2. So, Tomb Kings start off, and now a few charges are declared. What you can see here on the left is the horsemen charging into Marathi, and they do definitely make it. Clip's a bit mixed up, but they charge in. The chariots go to charge the crossbows, and they fail that charge, so they only move up about 4 inches there, 3 or 4 inches. And the crossbows do get to stand and shoot regardless, so they fire away. They get a few hits, and 3 wounds, and it does another wound, kills a chariot right there. Or it did 3 wounds because it was armor piercing, so it was -1 to their save. That's what killed them. Cetra's horde moves up in the middle. Now, I was really worried about what he's planning on doing here because he's getting closer and closer, so he's getting ready to charge, but Magic Phase starts up. Rolls to get that 5 instead of the 1, gets a channel. I get a channel because it's on a 5-up. He goes to cast that net again on, I believe, Marathi right there. He casts it. Marathi tries to dispel. She needed a 7. She rolled a 6. Fails to dispel. He goes for Speed of Light. Weapon skill 10, initiative 10 on those knights there, those riders. Try and dispel here. Fail to dispel here. It's just one thing after another. He goes to do Desert Wind. Basically, it gives all of his units nearby a free move. And I tried to dispel with 1. Doesn't work. So basically, they all get to move up. Oh, and it regenerates D3 plus 1 wounds. So he brings back a chariot. And the chariots all shimmy up a little bit, getting into big formation. Now he starts firing some arrows from the other chariot group back in my crossbows. Gets 2 wounds, and I make 1, but another crossbow dies. Screaming Skull aims at my cold ones, and he gets a hit. It was not indirect fire. It might have looked like it, but it wasn't. And they make their armor save, but of course none of them do. So they're dead. And then Marathi and them start fighting it out. Now they of course go first, and they're hitting on 3s. Wounding on 3s. She makes one of them and takes 2 wounds, so she's down to 1 wound already. Then she gets to attack back along with her mount. I think they do 1 wound, maybe 2. Oh, it looks like they did 1 wound. And then she has to do a leadership check, lesson 5. Makes it, of course, because I'm lucky for rolling low. Dark Elves turn 2, pass their stupidity test. The Hydra attacks the knights on the left. The knights turn in the middle to face down those chariots, keep them nervous. Basically lining up so either if he tries to charge or he turns to face, either way they're going to be in a good position. Crossbows shimmy up a little bit. The spearmen wait, but we send a noble out. He runs up in the middle, all by his lonesome, while the spearmen back off. The Hydra turns, and its magnetized head falls off again. Bunch of magic this turn. Bunch of magic that for him, for me. Now, Word of Pain reduces their weapon skill and ballistic skill to 1. She has the net, but she passes her strength test, goes to cast, and fails, or no, that one successfully went off, and he didn't try and dispel it. Now, she went to do Blade Wind into close combat. The way this works is, according to the rulebook, any spells in the older codexes can be cast, and the only restrictions on them are the restriction in the spell. So while Blade Wind does do damage and doesn't list itself as being able to hit close combat, it doesn't say it can't. And it's not listed as a direct damage, so we agreed that you could cast it. Then she tried to do Soul Stealer, but he did a Dispel Scroll. That was the end of the magic phase. Nothing really happened there. Then we've got a few more crossbows flying into the chariots. Just pot shots, really. They're not going to hit because they've been moving around. No wounds, only 1 wound on the one side. Now, here we got a debate about which one goes first. Weapon skill 10 from his spell or weapon skill 1 from my spell. We agreed 50-50. He rolled the dice, he failed. Their weapon skill 1. They attack. She goes for making her ward save and makes it. So, Marathi's still alive by 1 wound, then fails to hurt, and then she starts swinging and does terrible rolls all across the board. The Hydra attacks with his breath weapon as well. I believe that was the 2. Gets a whole bunch of 1s, a whole bunch more 1s, but he fails 5 of his saves from the Hydra's breath weapon and 7 attacks. Then he loses combat by 5 because of the flank and the wounds, so he loses a whole bunch of guys. Now, that's pretty much the end of the phase after the Dark Elves' turn. Bit nervous here about what's going to happen, but basically we're lined up. That noble is there to redirect that cavalry charge to hopefully stop those chariots. Not sure if it'll work, but Tomb Kings turn 3. They start lining up. The chariots, of course, charge my noble. The other chariots go to charge the crossbows, and they make it. So they move up, and then they get a free wheel. So they move up and they wheel on that guy. Just a bit slow here because we wanted to make sure everything was done precisely because he had a plan. He wanted to hit those crossbows and then overrun into my spearmen. So he lines them up and moves in right here all in one fell swoop. And I looked over from the top because he wants to be able to clip that spearman unit. That's his goal. And he has lots of movement, so it's not really an issue if he adjusts left or right a little bit. So there we go, turns it just a bit. Now because he can't close the door because my guys are, or my nobles standing there, the crossbowmen turn to face him. And they had to stand and shoot though. But he moved them in anyway. Technically it should have been the other way, but there's no way they were going to kill all those chariots. The other chariots, they charge the noble. Now because he's facing towards the knights, they have to turn to face him, which was my plan. So if he can hold his ground, then their back is exposed to those Cold One Knights, and they will get smashed. Magic Phase starts up. He gets a solid 12. I do get my channel, though. He goes to cast the net once again on Morathi, because he wants to keep her tied down, because if she can start casting, she can start killing. Assuming I can actually get a spell off, but we'll see. He does Speed of Light again on himself. Big boost to that. And then he... or rather, here he is casting it. It goes off, throws the Screaming Skull Catapult once again, horrified that this might actually hit, but it was indirect because he's shooting through terrain, and misses again. Now, here we are, debating between which one should take precedence. This time, I believe he does get it. No, he does not, because Morathi also has a special rule where if you're within base contact of her, they go down to Weapon Skill 1, and he failed the leadership check of 5. So they went down to Weapon Skill 1, and also from Weapon Skill 1 from my spell, but Weapon Skill 10, so it was all confusing. We said 5 or 6, he gets Weapon Skill 10, he did not. So here we are. Lots of attacks, pretty much. The Hydra just coming in and beating them up, and then Morathi and her friends beating them up. But not a lot of wounds here. I believe he makes a lot of these saves, so we killed one more, and he, of course, stays because of skeletons being unstable, so one died from that. They just overrun them with impact hits, the chariots hitting the crossbows, and they overrun, which puts them close enough to hit the spearmen, and we just take this hill out of the way, and we adjust the spearmen over to get full frontage. Noble stands his ground, they get a bunch of chariot hits, lots of wounds, he has a 4-up regen because of his magic gear, failed all of his armor saves, now he's going for his regen, and only failed 1, so he has 1 wound left. And then he attacks back, he gets 2 hits, but he rerolls because he's an elf, or a hated elf, and then tries to wound. He always wounds on a 5-up at least, but he was wounding on 4s. He gets 2 wounds, so he kills a chariot, which is pretty good because that means that chariot can't help the other ones. So he attacks. The front 2 chariots are enough to kill him, though, and they get a free wheel, so they turn to face the oncoming knights and Hydra. Dark Elf turn 3. Hydra charges in. Knights charge in. Is it going to be enough? Will they be able to kill all of these massive amounts of chariots? There's only 6 knights there and a Hydra. So, stay tuned for part 3 and find out whether or not that last charge is enough to save the Dark Elves.